Good evening all and welcome to our new and third edition of the HCL SRFI program of the Squash Cardio program partnered with Squash Skills called Squash Mantra. Today we have with us a very exciting session on agility and speed, and I leave the floor to Gary to take over. Thanks, Gary.
Hi everybody. Just starting up the videos. Great, so thanks everybody.
Welcome to our new and third edition of the HCL SRFI program of the Squash Cardio program partnered with Squash Skills called Squash Mantra.
I'm getting the YouTube
Today we
feedback.
have with us a very exciting session on agility and speed, and I leave the floor to Gary to take over. Thanks, Gary.
Hi everybody, just starting up the videos. Great, so thanks everybody.
Welcome to our new and third edition. Gary, maybe we just turn down the volume and let's go for it.
Okay, so some technical difficulties there with the YouTube. It should all be running normally now. Can somebody confirm that you can actually hear me now and you're not hearing the YouTube audio?
And can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, we'll get started there, guys. Again, apologies for that. We should all be smoothly streaming onto the YouTube and onto the Zoom now. So as we're introduced, the theme today is going to be speed and agility for squash players. So talking about why it's important primarily for squash players, what the kind of purpose of it is. And then we're going to go through some conversation about how we actually train it. Because for me, speed and agility is probably the most incorrectly trained physical attribute. You get a lot of people that do endurance work and strength work and all these other things, and it's fine. But the way people train speed is often not done in the most optimal way. So we'll talk a little bit today about how we can actually change our training to really kind of hit that properly. We're also going to go through a short live workout at the end where I'm going to take you through some exercise you can do in your own home. So a lot of speed stuff, obviously on court and movement is going to be a big part of it. But the speed stuff that we're going to do as part of the session today will all be just very, very small kind of footwork stuff, some lunge work that you can do in the comfort of your own living room. There's a couple of videos that I'm going to show as well, just some PSA clips of some players that I think exemplify that kind of speed attribute very well. And just some kind of highlight videos of them and how they move and how they kind of express speed in their own games. So I'm just going to put a slide up here, just going to share the screen with everybody. You can all see this. So from a presentation I did on physical attributes for the squash player as a whole, one of the areas we looked at in that was speed and agility, as we're looking at here. So using an example of a player that I think is probably one of the best examples of speed and agility in the sport today was Miguel Rodriguez. I think when you look at the different elements of speed, you know, we're going to talking about what kind of goes into making up speed. And for me, Rodriguez is probably the player that has most of those qualities that displays that best on the PSA Tour at Currents. We'll talk a little bit about him in a moment, and there's a video of him that I'm going to show as well. So just to start with, if you can all see what I've got on there with the slide, a definition of what speed actually is, not just in the context of squash, but kind of as an overall physical characteristic. So it's the ability to move quickly across the ground or to move limbs rapidly, and the ability to swiftly change body position or direction. So that last bit there about changing body position and direction, that's what we're talking about with agility. We often kind of use the two terms together, speed and agility, but what agility really refers to primarily is that change of direction. So speed is the kind of movement itself. Agility is the ability to stop, turn and twist. And obviously in the game of squash, it's not a linear game. You're not kind of moving in straight lines. You're always curving and sharp sort of turns. So that's why we use agility as kind of a slightly different characteristic. With the drills, we do tend to cover both of those. But it's important we get that agility aspect in there, because we're not just running in a straight line. We do need to turn and adjust as part of our training and as part of our play as well. So why it's important, enhanced court coverage and the ability to get onto balls early to attack and to relieve pressure when defending. Greater agility means being able to react to deception and to change direction rapidly in response to your opponent's shots. So again, with the speed there, I think this is something that I always try and highlight very early on. I think we talk primarily and we think primarily about speed, most people do, in terms of defense, in terms of retrieving balls, getting balls back, being fast around the court. But I think there's a massive component of attacking in there as well. The ability to get on the ball very quickly. Again, Rodriguez is a good example of this. When he goes into the front corner, so if his opponent's played a drop or a boast, and Miguel's going in there to play the counter, he's so quick onto the ball. The actual quality of his drops maybe aren't as high as some of the Egyptian players with his racket skills at the front of the court. But because he gets on the ball so quickly, his speed becomes such a good attacking weapon. The drop doesn't need to be that effective. He's just getting on there, pushing the ball in. But because he's taken the ball so early, because of his speed, it creates huge pressure on his opponents. So like I said, I think it's important to kind of highlight that attacking element. It's not, speed isn't just about running around the court and defending, getting balls back. Speed used correctly can be a really good attacking weapon. The other player that I'm going to show a video on is Nicole Davids from the female game, obviously retired now, but she was a master of that as well, getting onto the ball quickly at the front, playing shots before opponent even had time to react. So I think we'll talk a little bit about the sort of basic training of speed first, and then I'll show the videos, and then we're going into a little bit more depth when we're talking about the session that we're going to do today and how the parameters of that would work if you were kind of taking that session into your standards program. So what I said at the beginning about speed training being done wrong. So the biggest thing with speed is that it's a quality element. It's about getting good quality, fast, explosive movements. Now, if you're doing that, if you're doing a session on that, if your recovery times aren't long enough between the exercises that you do, it very quickly descends back into just being a basic endurance session. So the point I'm making is that Doesn't matter how good the drills that you do are. You can have all these great footwork drills and movement drills, which are great. But if you're not leaving long enough to recover between each of those exercises, you're not going to be maximizing your speed benefits. So the biggest thing I say about your speed training is remembering you need to take long breaks between each exercise that you do. So even when we do our speed workout today, there's going to be quite a lot of recovery time. We're not going to be going straight into exercises. Each exercise that we do, we're going to take plenty of time to fully recover before you go into the next one. If you're doing, say, an endurance session, we tend to keep our rest periods fairly short. So if you're doing an interval session, we might work for 30 seconds, hard effort. If we're doing endurance, we might then rest for 15, 20 seconds. We keep those rest periods quite short because we want to really accumulate that endurance effect on the body. With speed, it's not. With speed, we work normally, I work about a 1:4 or a 1:5 ratio of work to rest. So what that means is if we're doing a drill, and the drills are fairly short for say 15, 20 seconds of effort, we're then going to take up to about a minute and a half of recovery. Because if we start trying to go back in and doing more drills and more exercises before that, as I say, your body isn't recovered enough to really express that speed. And it can still be a good training session, but you're not really hitting speed primarily. So really the key point that I'm making there is to make sure when you're doing your speed training, plenty of recovery in between. That means the session, sometimes you're not doing a huge amount of actual work in there, but with the rest periods, the session is still going to be 20, 25 minutes long, but you're getting that recovery time between each exercise. So as I say, we'll talk about that a little bit more detail and give you some practical examples when we go into our workout at the end. Just now, I'm going to show you those videos. So just a couple of minutes long, just a video highlight, one of Rodriguez and one of Nicole David. I'll just run these and you'll be able to hear the commentary and the audio over those. Okay, I've been told that you're not getting the audio of that, so I'll talk you through the video, just talk you through the examples that we've got here of Miguel. So there's some good examples there of him getting on to the ball at the front of the court, as we were saying before, about using that ability to not just defend, but actually attack from different positions as well. What this clip here with Nick Matthews shows very well is that element of agility, that element of changing direction, where Nick's moving around the court and Miguel's able to twist and turn and work into the corners. So it's not just kind of a straight line that he's running in there, he's getting the deception. Whereas these movements here, when he's getting on early, you know, taking a volley off of a backball post, the speed required to get onto the ball to volley that before the bounce, again, he's there's not many players out there that can move that quickly. As you watch Miguel there, we said about these kind of two main elements of speed, and I've said that he exemplifies both of them very well. So one of them is foot speed. So you watch when Miguel moves, watch how quick his feet are, very, very fast feet, very, very quick foot turnover. So that kind of speed of the feet, that coordination, very rapid, and he's got it in his hands as well, as you can see with his shots. He's very, very fast feet, very, very quick feet that he possesses. So that's one big element of our kind of speed. The other element that Miguel exemplifies very well, you can see it here with Nick moving around the court, is the power and the acceleration. So very rarely in a game of squash, even if you're going corner to corner, maybe 6, 7 steps, we're not taking lots and lots of steps. So that initial power, you can really see Miguel's legs there. Look at the muscles activating there, that ability to push off and change direction, as we said, with the agility. A lot of that comes from power and strength through the muscles. So speed does have a strength and power component because we're working a very, very explosive pace. When we're not taking lots of steps, it's those quick, aggressive steps And Miguel, because he's got such power in his legs, he's very, very quick off the mark, and that ability, as I said there, that is a huge part of speed. It's not just about the speed of the feet, it's the ability to push off and get up to top speed very, very quickly. I showed the same video of Nicole again. I don't think you're getting the audio through from here, so I'll talk you through that one as well. So I think the Nicole one is a little bit more of a focus on her getting onto the front and attacking from one of her games. Just load this one up. I think when we talk about examples, I've used Miguel and Nicole David here, but actually the Indian player Saurav Ghosa was another one. You know, very, very fast feet. He's similar to Miguel in that he's got the fast feet, but he's also got that kind of initial powerful push off as well. So he gets up to top speed very quickly. So again, he's another good example of someone I think that exemplifies speed very well in the game. Some of the other women, just trying to get the video to load. Some of the other videos, some of the other women, as well as Nicole David. You've got someone like Noran Gohar at the moment, who's very, very fast around the court. Again, hers is much more about that initial acceleration, very, very powerful, both with her hitting and with her kind of initial first steps. So she's another kind of good example of someone I often use. Just get the Nicole David from opened. So again, I'll just kind of commentate through from the original audio that we had on there when it loads. Apologies where it's slow. It's where we've got the YouTube running as well. It's taking up a lot of resources on the Wi-Fi. Okay, we'll leave the video. All the video was shown. It's a much shorter one there. What we've got, and I'll try and get the clip forwarded over so you guys can see it perhaps on social media later. There's an example where there's a boast gone in from the back of the court, and Nicole's read it very early. That was the kind of other element that Nicole was very good at, very good anticipation. So she was fast, and she read the ball very early as well, which made her even more effective. And what she was then able to do was move onto that ball even before her opponent has fully kind of pulled out of the shot. Nicole was able to get onto those balls, and she's playing the shots before her opponents even reacted to that next ball. So that ability to move quickly and that combination that she had of the anticipation as well. You know, when she used to play, she looked so much faster than the other female players, and it made a massive difference. She was very fit, obviously, as well. But again, she was never as technically advanced, maybe, as some of the other Egyptian players that are around now. And you're looking at Shabini and Gohar and El Tayeb. But Nicole was such a fantastic athlete with that speed and that movement. You know, she made up so much ground, and that was what made her one of the most successful female players of all time. She was obviously a good player, but it was her physical attributes and primarily that speed and movement, you know, that made her such a dominant force at the top of the female game for so long. Okay, so we'll go back to the training element that we were saying there and leading into the workout that we're going to do. So the different drills, as I've kind of highlighted there with Miguel, with those kind of two different elements, with the kind of explosive acceleration, that ability to get off the mark and get the feet going, and then also the quick footwork that he possesses as well. So it's difficult to really work so much on that kind of speed and over the sort of acceleration of the steps when you're working in a very small space. But typically, I mean, even things like court sprints and ghosting, that they can be good speed exercises if you do them with the correct parameters. So one sort of speed drill that I often use with players is just a 2 court sprint effort. So they do 2 court sprints as fast as they possibly can. And we've got kind of quite a high-tech speed system that we have at the club, so we can measure very precisely what their speed is. So we're trying to get those 2 court sprints around about 3.8, 3.9 seconds. So I said we've got a very accurate kind of speed measurement gun that we use. So it's 2 court sprints flat out, trying to get it below that 3.8, 3.9 mark. and then we'll have about a minute's rest. It's quite a long rest after each of those 2 sprints. But what that allows us to do is almost fully recover before we go back in to doing our next set. So we might do 10, 12 sets of that. But because we're having the longer recovery periods, every set, the quality remains high. We generally find that the speed on the first set isn't that different to the speed by the 11th, 12th set because they're having that extended recovery. So those kind of speed sessions, quite a simple one you can do there straight away. 2 court sprints, minutes break, repeat that 10, 12 times. Ghosting is another one. So we often do like a 6 movement ghost. So we might either do it with someone pointing at the front, or you can just do it yourself if you work in random movements. But 6 ghosts as fast as you possibly can. Short ghosts, so no more than 2 or 3 steps. You're not necessarily going all the way into the corners. You're imagining you're kind of working around that T. So that short, explosive 6 movement ghosts. And again, that might take you 20 seconds, depending on your speed. And then we'll take maybe a minute and a half, 2 minutes. So again, that longer recovery. And again, by the end of the session, by the end of normally around 10, 12 sets again that we do, the speed has been maintained pretty well because of those longer periods that we're having. I think what happens with some of these speed drills when people do these drills and they do shorten the rest periods too much, like I said at the beginning, you know, the first couple of sets, you'll still get that speed effect, but by the end, you're just working at the same pace. You're getting slower and slower and slower. So you're no longer pushing that speed element. The one exception to that is what we talk about when we talk about speed endurance. So with speed endurance, it's the ability to maintain that speed for a longer time. So obviously in a game of squash, you might be playing for an hour. So we need to be able to keep expressing that speed. So that's a slightly different component. Normally we'd work very hard if I'm working with a player, you know, we're in a kind of a pre-season training program and we want to get that base speed up very high, very early. So that's one of the things that we'll focus on. Once we feel that we've got a good kind of base of speed and we've kind of maximized that, then we might transition into the speed endurance work, where there we are cutting the rest period down a little bit, still not going into kind of a standard stamina-based session where you're getting really tired, but instead of working of that kind of 1:5 work to rest ratio, we might drop down to maybe 1:3. So it's similar drills to still working maybe 15, 20 seconds of ghosting or the short 4 or 5 second court sprints, but then the rest period will be a little bit shorter than what we were using when we were doing the pure speed work. So we build that foundation, we build that pure speed up first, and then once we feel we've kind of hit a good level of that, then we would go into the speed endurance work. As I say, these are all the sort of things that when players do what they think is speed training, and they're not really factoring in what exactly is it that they're trying to develop. So certainly one of the things that I've always based a lot of my kind of coaching philosophy and my training philosophy on is really getting players fast first and foremost, and then getting them to a point where they can express that speed over and over and over again in a game. And certainly the players I work with, that's really something that you do see come through. You know, the speed around the court, both in defense and attack, is something that most of them do possess to a very high level. So as I said, the drills that we're going to do here today as part of our live workouts are going to be much more based on the footwork side of things. We're going to work in quite a small space. So working at just getting those feet moving quickly, just generating that ability to turn the feet over. One tool, an implement that a lot of players use, and you may well have seen, is the ladders, what they often call the speed ladders. Now, you're not really developing pure speed going through a ladder because you're having to think about the footwork. So for me, I often refer to them more as coordination ladders. It's much more about the footwork. So if you've seen them, what it is, it's kind of a fabric ladder that you lay out on the floor with the sort of plastic rungs, and there's different drills that you go through. You're sort of stepping in. There might be twists and turns and different footwork drills. So they're very good. I often use them as part of a warm-up. You know, we get that kind of speed coordination element going as part of your warm-up in there. So the drills we do today are going to be kind of focused quite heavily on footwork speed, working on the spot rather than anything too movement based, because obviously we're working in a restricted space. In terms of sort of scheduling your speed work, going back to the slide there at the bottom, we talk about the frequency of how often you would be looking to do your speed training. I've said 3 or 4 times a week. The great thing about speed training is because it's not particularly fatiguing, because we're taking those longer rest periods, we can often kind of put it in as part of a standard training session. So if I'm working with players and they've got a court drill session on in the morning at say 10 o'clock, we might incorporate the speed work as part of their warm-up. So that way, you know, we're always going to be a little bit restricted for time, whether you're a professional player or an amateur player. We want to get the, you know, the maximal use out of the time that we have available. So speed can often be kind of put in as part of an extended warm-up. So if I was working with a professional group, we'd still spend a good sort of 10, 15 minutes, a little bit of movement, some mobility, getting the body working. And then the last part of the warm-up, we would go into maybe 15, 20 minutes of speed drills. So we would still do, you know, a couple of longer speed sessions during the week, but it's a great way just to include a little bit of extra speed work. And it's just a good way to really kind of maximize the time that you're spending with your warm-up. So we'd get to the end of the warm-up and then we might go through some of the ladder drills that I just spoke about, some of the footwork drills that we do here, maybe a few kind of short court sprints, a little bit of short ghosting work. So again, if you're pushed for time and you can only get to the courts 2 or 3 times a week, you know, tying your speed agility work in to your warm-up, because you should really be doing a warm-up before every session anyway to get the most out of it. By putting your speed work in there as well, you're kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone. You're getting the ability to get a good warm-up and really get your body prepared to go, but then you're getting the dual benefit of doing those extra speed drills. And as I said, if you get time to do a longer speed session during the week, then great, and we always do that for the pro players. But certainly you can get a lot done in 15, 20 minutes if you have a nice sort of clear plan, as I say, using some of the drills that we're going to look at today, or just some basic ghosting and some basic court sprints. So we'll get set up. What we'll try and do, I think we're going to have the facility at the end to go back to any kind of Q&A. So we're going to take just 2 minutes now, because we're going to go into our live workout. If you've got any questions about anything that we've discussed there or anything else that comes up, best thing to do is put it into the chat. If you're viewing this through Zoom, put your messages through on the chat, and then I can kind of go back to those at the end. So we'll do the live workout now. We'll just take 2 minutes for me to get set up, and then you guys can get set up as well. And then, as I say, we can go back and do a little bit of a Q&A section at the end of the session. So I'm just going to pause the video here for 2 minutes, get yourselves ready. You don't need much space, just enough space to maybe take 1 lunge in each direction. That's all we're going to need. And then, you know, maybe get yourself a drink of water on that, ready to go as well. Okay, everybody, so we're set. Got my space lined up, got my water ready as well. I'll be joining in. Just going back to regarding if there's any questions, if you've got any comments, I know some of you are watching through YouTube. If you comment on there, I should hopefully be able to get the comments relayed, questions relayed back to me on here as well. So say if there are any questions, do feel free to pop those in. So I'm going to just open up my screen so I can work from the top. Hang on. So hopefully you'll be able to see me. We're going to go through just a short warm-up first. I'm going to take a step back in a moment. You should be able to see me nice and clear. So just a short warm-up to get ourselves going, just to sort of move the body through a little bit of mobility work, and then we'll go into those speed drills. It'll be about 25, 30 minutes in total. So just finding a little bit of space that you've got, just making sure you've got enough space just to move around there. So just to begin, it's just going to be just a very, very light jog on the spot. So just starting very, very slow, just a little bit of light movements. While we're doing that, keeping the arms nice and loose at the same time. So just light on the feet, almost like you're just sort of marching lightly on the spot, keeping the arms, shoulders, elbows all nice and loose. As we do that, just going to start taking a few circles back with the shoulders, just rotating the shoulders back through. And same thing, rotating forwards, just turning the shoulders round to the front, forward rotations just through the shoulders, keeping the feet moving light the whole time. And just shake off the arms. So we're just going to go into a little bit more of a jog. We're just going to start turning the heels up, just about halfway up, not all the way up to the back side, just about halfway up there. So keeping light on the feet, just flicking those heels back, just bending through the knee, just working through the muscles in the quads, in the hamstrings there. And we're just going to come back round here, and we're just going to go into a little bit of a mobility movement for our calves. So just making sure you can see me there. I'm going to go down into a press up position, and I'm just going to flex my toes and my heels. So I'm keeping the kind of ball of the foot nice and still, and I'm just alternating that flexion of my heels to the floor there. So I'm pushing the heel down, but keeping the toes, the balls of the feet set in place. So supporting my weight at the front on my arms and just alternating that little push through. And then we're just going to hold on one side now. Heel is going to come across, and we're just going to hold the stretch there for 10, 15 seconds. So just mobilizing and stretching out those calves. Same on the other side. Toe down, just gently letting the heel drop to the floor. Cross the other leg over. Just stretching out that calf on the balanced leg. And back up. So we're going to go back into our jog on the spot again. This time the heel flicks, getting all the way up to the back sides now. So big heel flicks. So a little bit more intense than what we were doing before. Still keeping light on the feet, just little quick turns up, getting those flex through the hamstrings, through the knees, and just coming down here. So now we're going to move up the body slightly, a little bit of a stretch mobility for the hamstrings themselves. So you can take a nice deep breath, big circle round with the arms, and just coming down to touch just slightly below the knees. Breathe out as we get there, and back up, deep breath, circle the arms. This time a little bit lower, going down towards the ankles. So reaching down, breathe out at the bottom. And one more time, big circle round, deep breath, this time going as low as you comfortably can. Just going to hold that for 5, 10 seconds. And back up. Same thing with the legs wide. So still hamstring, but bringing a little bit of work through the groins, through the adductor muscles there. So this time we're going to take a big circle round, deep breath as you come down, breathe out, just touching just at the tops of the shins, just below the kneecap. And back up, deep breath. As we breathe out, down into the shins, a little bit lower now towards the ankles, breathe out. And last one, big deep breath up, big circle with the arms. Breathe out as low as you can comfortably go now. And shake off there. Okay, one more time back on the spot. So last little bit of movement that we're going to do. And then we're going to finish with one more mobility movement for the quads, for the thighs. So here we're just going to bring a little bit of speed in here now as well with our movement. So in a moment, when I say go, you're going to work 5 seconds, fast sprint on the spot. So we're light on the feet, easy there. But when I say go, it's 5 seconds, getting the feet moving as quickly as you can. And we're going to do that 3 times. So first one, 5 seconds, go fast, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and back to a slow jog. 10-second recovery, you can do that 3 times. So we're still warming up, but now we're starting to bring a little bit of that speed element in to make this warm up nice and specific. Here we go. Go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And back to a slow jog, nice and light. One more time. And last one. Here we go. 5 seconds. Go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And slow down there. Okay, so last little mobility exercise, bringing in there for the quads, for the glutes. You're going to come down onto one knee. If you're feeling the discomfort on the back knee, you can maybe put a cushion or something padded underneath. But from there, we're just going to lean forward, a little bit of mobility work for our hip flexors. You're turning around to the side so you can see that. So I'm just leaning forward, holding for a couple of seconds, and then coming back. We're going to do 5 reps of about 3 seconds. Pushing in, 3, 2, 1, and back out. Back in for rep number 3, just pushing across. And back out. Rep number 4, leaning in. Just working through those hip flexors, top of the quads. One more time, in. And change legs. So on the other side, again, if you've got any discomfort in the knee there, just put something soft padded underneath. Otherwise up. So start nice and tall, chest up, and then just leaning forward. You feel a little bit of an extension through the top of the hip on that back leg. And back out. Rep number 2. And back out. Rep number 3, just pushing a little bit further each time. And back out, 2 more. Take it in, just get that little push through. And back out. And last one, pushing through. And back out. Okay, so normally what I would say with a warm-up, at the end of a warm-up like what we've just done there, if there's any specific kind of normal movements or stretches that you like to do yourself in addition, this is a good chance to do those now. So just while I'm talking, getting set up for the next point. So always at the end of a warm-up, you know, what we've done there is kind of a general speed-related warm-up. You obviously want to have your own kind of elements in there as well. So anything else you feel you need to stretch out, you can do that now. So the first exercise we're going to work with is going to be a lunge variant. We're going to do 4 sets. So the first set is going to be a slow, controlled lunge to get a lunge, just to get us feeling the movement. The second set, we're going to work very much on the speed into the lunge and then a slow movement out. So it's the speed into the lunge, that initial movement onto a ball. The third set, we're kind of switching it around and we're going to go slowly into the lunge, but we're going to work on the movement out, so an explosive push away. And then the final set, when our muscles are going and we've got all that going for us with the previous 3 exercises, we're going to combine it and do the fastest lunge that we possibly can. So it'll make sense as we go. Each set that we do is going to be 6 reps on each leg. And as I said, we're going to keep these rest periods fairly high. So 6 reps each leg. And we'll work, just for today, we're going to work a 90 seconds rest period in between each 2 sets that we do for both legs. So first variant we're going to work is just your basic lunge. So just mirror me, you're going to work one leg, doesn't matter which leg you start on, you're going to work 6 just slow, controlled, standard lunges on one leg. We then switch to the other side, 6 reps on the other side. So I like to work just my hands across my chest when I'm lunging without weight. So I'm just going to lunge out, working with me now, into that lunge, normal speed out. Same leg, 6 reps. Just letting that back knee come down close to the floor. Don't actually let the back knee touch, but getting close to the floor. Just a slow, steady lunge. That's 4. Make sure you can see that kind of range of motion that I'm using. That's 5. Last one, in, and 6. Then shake off. Other leg, same thing. So just lunging out on the other side now. Nice and smooth. 1, 2, 3, 4. Last 2. 5. And last one. 6. And slowly back there. So take that rest period. As I said, we don't need quite as long on this first set because that was quite an easy one to start with. But I think that's something to think about when you do not just speed, but any kind of training, whatever drill or movement that you're doing. You want to start out doing that drill quite slowly just to get your sort of familiarity with it, get your muscle into it before we speed it up, or if you're in the gym, before you add any extra weight, just get that kind of basic movement going on first. So as I said, the first progression we're going to work with now is a fast lunge in, but then a slow movement out. So we're going to really explode into that lunge. So make sure you've got enough space to lunge out into. Just hold for a brief second as if you're sort of playing your shot. And then we're going to push back out to the start point at normal speed. So again, we're not rushing through it. It's not a super fast turnover. The movement in is fast. Everything else slow and controlled. The same as we've done there, 6 reps on each leg. So I'll just demo the first one just to show what we're going to do. So that's a quick lunge in and then a slow movement out. Okay, so we're going to work 6 reps on one leg. Here we go. Quick lunge in and slow out. Shake off. Second rep. Go. Quick lunge in. Slowly out. Shake the legs off. Number 3. Go. Quick lunge in. Slow out. Go. 4 in. Slow out. Go. 5 into that lunge as fast as you can and out. Last one. Go in. And slowly out. Shake off. 6 reps, same on the other leg. Just working a different angle now, so get yourself set up. Here we go. In and slowly out. Take a moment. Go in, lunge fast, slowly out. Go in, 3, slowly out. Shake off. Go 4 in, slowly out. Go 5 in, slowly out. Last one. Go in and out and shake off and rest there. So again, extended rest. I do sometimes get asked about what you can do if you're not someone that likes to just sit and wait and rest between exercises. Sometimes I recommend just doing a little bit of mobility work in between. So again, if you're pushed for time and you haven't got time to do kind of loads and loads of training in your week, what I might do here with a player or with a client is just do a little bit of mobility. So while we wait, and we might go through some kind of mobility squats, or we might do a few more of those kind of flexion drills, even a little bit of upper body work. We can work with bands, a little bit of work there. So if you're somebody that is pushed for time and you can't just kind of sit there and wait for 2 minutes between each exercise, you can fill that time up with very low intensity work. So as I say, mobility sometimes works. If you're somebody that doesn't get enough time to do your sort of stretching and flexibility work, you can almost sort of tie it in with your speed sessions as well. So this next set, we're going to do the same thing, but as I said, we're going to lunge in slowly now, normal lunge like we started with, really powering out of the lunge. We're focusing now on the speed element of getting out of the lunge rather than going into it. So again, I'll do a quick demo just to start. So what we're going to work with is a normal lunge in, but then really powering out of it. So really pushing off that lead leg to get you back to the start. Do be careful if, like me, you're working on a wooden floor and it's a little bit slippery, so just be careful with that push out when you're coming in there. Okay, so 6 reps, working in time with me. So down into the lunge, hold for a second, and back, really powering out of it. Same leg, second rep. Down, hold, go, power out, really push through that lead leg and pull through the back leg. Down we go. Go out, drive out, that's 3. Down we go, hold. Go, drive out, that's 4. In we go, hold. Go, drive out for 5. One more time. Down and hold. Go, drive out for 6 and shake off. Same on the other side. So again, get yourself set up. Lunging out, hold. Go, drive off. 2, go, hold. Go, drive out, really powering out. Number 3, hold. Go, pushing out. Number 4, hold. Go, power out, last 2. Number 5, hold. Go, drive out. And last one, number 6. Go, drive out and rest there. So as I said, when we're looking at speed, there is a crossover with power. You know, some of the kind of variants of the lunges that we're doing there would be very similar to how I would do a sort of lunge drill if I was working kind of a strength power session and we're working on that kind of explosive movement as well. So the last variant we're going to do on these is going to be a combination of that in and out. So on this one, when I say go, quick lunge in and out. And what we're going to introduce a little bit here as well is that kind of reaction element. I spoke a little bit about Nicole David and her anticipation, her reactions, her reflexes. So when we do this one, you know, we're going to hold for slightly longer. When I say go in and out of that lunge as quick as you possibly can. So responding, reacting to my call very much on this one as well. We're condensing it today because we're only working in a short workout. What we've done here, I would typically do those kind of first 3 variants that we've done, the standard lunge with the quick movement out, and then the standard lunge with the quick movement in. I would just do 1 set of that like we've done here. But what we're going to do now, this last movement, when we're working specifically on the fast lunge overall, I would probably do maybe 3 or 4 sets of this. So just 1 set for this today, but normally I would expand it because this is going to kind of be the most specific part of the drills that we've done so far. So 1 set here today, but normally, maybe 3 sets is a good starting point, 3 sets of 6 on each leg. So, as I say, we're going to start here. We're going to work, again, doesn't matter which leg you're working on, but when I say go, quickly in, quickly out, and then waiting, make it even more specific and realistic by imagining you're on the tee, you're on the sort of balls of the feet. They don't just start with your feet heavy there, balls of the feet light, ready to go in and out, okay? Again, be careful that your floor isn't slippery, you're not going to slide anywhere. So 6 reps on 1 leg. Stand by, go in, out as fast as you can. Holding, go in, out as fast as we can. 2 done. Go in, out, fast, explosive lunge. 3 done. Go in, out, 4. Holding. Go in, out, fast as we can. That's 5. Go in, out, and 6. And shake off. Change side. Same on the other leg now. 6 reps. Here we go. Go in, out, fast down, fast out. Go in, out, 2. Go in, out, 3. Go in, out, 4. Go in, out, 5. Go in, out, 6. And rest there. So again, if you're working that on your own, you'd now take 1.5 to 2 minutes rest, and then you would repeat that for a further 2 times through. If you're working on your own, you can just do the lunges, just going in and out without obviously the reflex call. But I'm a big fan of any kind of speed drills that I do, of working with a partner, or obviously as a coach as well. I would be calling the movements because, as I say, by bringing that reaction element in, by reacting to the call, you're making it even more specific to the way that you're going to be moving in a game. Okay, so next exercise group that we're going to go into, I'm just going to turn my camera down a little bit because we're going to be looking much more at the feet. So we're going to go through a series of fast footwork drills. When we spoke earlier on, when I said about using the ladder drills, this is very similar to what you were doing there, very much focused on foot coordination, quick feet, quick movements with those feet. So what I've marked out, you might not be able to see it very clearly, but I've got a taped line that I've just put out across the middle of my floor there. So you can just do it visually, you don't necessarily need that. But by having that line, obviously, if you're training on a squash court, you can use one of the lines on the court just to kind of give you a visual guide of where you're working and what you're trying to kind of keep the foot targets to. So as I say, the focus is going to be slightly lower, so you might not be able to see the top of me there, but we're really just focusing on the feet for this one. So I'm going to give you a quick demo of the first drill. So watching my feet, I've got my little line there. I'm going to be taking 2 steps over the line and then 2 steps back. So I'm starting there, I'm leading with 1 foot. So 1 foot goes in, other foot follows over the line, first foot comes back, in and out there. So we're going to do 2 sets. When we change for the second set, I'm then leading with the other foot. Mistake people often make when they do these kind of drills and the ladder stuff, that you'll naturally have 1 foot that you tend to feel more comfortable to lead with. So by doing the 2 sets of each exercise, you can make sure that you practice leading with the other foot. in a game of squash, you're always going to have one side that you prefer, that you tend to dominate on, whether that be lunging or pushing or sprinting. But sometimes you haven't got time to think. You haven't always got time to kind of change that up. So the ability to move off of both feet is something that's very important to practice in your training sessions. So here we go. We're going to work just a 20 seconds blast on these. 20 seconds on. We'll then take about a minute and a half rest, as we've been doing, and then changing to the other leg. So 2 sets of this fast foot exercise. So I'm going to get my stopwatch started off. 20 seconds, really working, fast paced. Remember which leg that you're leading with. That one leg is going to go in and out, leading with one side, 2 feet over, 2 feet back. 20 seconds, stand by, and go. Over that fast as we can, in and out. So keeping that lead foot, got that line on the floor that we're working. 2 feet over, 2 feet back. 10 seconds, halfway. Get that rhythm, get that fluidity. Last few seconds. And time. Hold there. So take our recovery, just resting out there. Get deep breaths in. To say, you know, they're quite intense exercises. You're going to get a little bit breathless doing them. But the idea is then to leave a long enough recovery period that now when I go into my next set, that yeah, I'm not going to be completely recovered, but recovered enough that it's not going to have, the fatigue isn't going to have a huge impact on my ability to do the exercise well with quality. So you might find when you think about leading with the other leg, like I said, it might feel slightly less natural. You know, you're going to have that one leg that you feel more comfortable using. So this is quite a good practice just to sort of test that out, throw that out a little bit, you know, without going off onto a wider tangent. The game is played a lot more off of both legs. We always used to be taught back in the day, you know, to use the left leg on one side and the right leg on one side. You watch elite players play now, they can react and use either leg in any position. The game has really evolved in that way. So certainly the way we train has had to change as well to be able to replicate that ability on court, to be able to adjust and move and sprint and lunge off of both sides of the body in any situation. Right, same thing. So thinking about what foot you led with last time, we're going to lead with the other foot now. So the other foot is the one that goes in first. Everything else the same, 20 seconds, stand by, go. Quick feet, 2 feet over, 2 feet back. That little line that you're stepping over and stepping back on each time. 10 seconds, halfway, fast feet, light on the balls of the feet. Right touches, shouldn't be too heavy. Last few seconds, and time, and rest there. So a little bit of a burner for the legs. Take a rest, and we're going to go into our next exercise. So our next exercise, I'll demo properly in a moment when I've got my breath back, is going to be the same, but we're going to work across now. So like kind of a lateral movement. Think about how that works in a game. If you're on the tee and you're trying to cut out a quick ball that's low to the edge of the box, or even a volley, you know, that quick lateral movement. Think again, when we do a lot of our kind of training drills, people tend to focus a lot more on sort of forwards and backwards, when actually in a game, we are often moving laterally, we are often moving from side to side as well. So I'm just going to adjust the camera so you can see my feet. You might be able to see my line because it's quite faint, but my line is kind of here. So this time we're taking 2 steps over and 2 steps back. So I'm going across, just a little stutter step to reset, and then back there. So again, if you get a nice rhythm, you obviously need to take an extra step to push off of. So it's there's a little tap in between, but it's the movement across that I'm trying to get that quick step through that we're going to do. Okay, so we're going to work 2 sets of this one. There's no other variation on this one. It's going to be the same foot that you lead with just because of the nature of the drill. So 2 sets of 20 seconds with that break in between. Okay, so get yourself set. So it's over, stutter step, back there. So we're always pushing off that outside leg to bring us back in. 20 seconds, flat out, stand by, Go across, quick step, get a nice rhythm to it, get that stutter step where you're just pushing back across the line each time. Coordination, fast feet, 10 seconds, halfway. That quick step over, adjust the feet, back into place, and rest there. Take your breather. So for those that have done ladder drills, that's very similar to what we call the icky shuffle, the shuffle drill on the ladder that some of you might have done, where you're kind of shuffling that sort of side to side movement through the ladder. Very, very similar drill that we're doing there with the tape line instead. So the second set of those will be the same. There's obviously no difference in which foot you step on these, so these will stay the same for the second set. After this one more drill, and then we'll finish there. Okay, just get yourself loose, legs lightened off. Another 15 seconds. Okay. Stand by, 20 seconds, fast paced push. Here we go. 20 seconds, same as before. Quick feet, really trying to speed through, being aware of your line, coordinating the feet back and forth over that line. Keeping the rhythm, legs don't get a bit tired. Last few seconds. 3, 2, 1, and time. And rest there. So that's what's saying about the quality, even there with that longer rest, the quality does start to slip. So if you're doing those kind of drills and you're only taking 20 seconds rest between them, by the time you get to the end, the coordination of the feet is going to be completely off. So you're not going to develop that quality of movement. And as I said, we need to get the quality before we work on being able to sustain quality throughout a match. We need to get that quality to the highest possible point first. And that's very much what we're looking at here. Okay, so this one again, we're going to work a little bit of a reaction on this one. This is the last drill we're going to work with. So again, you don't need to do it with a reaction. You can just work a sort of linear movement around on this one, which I'll show you. But doing it here with me live, we're going to work to my call. So we're kind of combining both of those drills. So you're going to start on your spot there, just moving. When I say front, it's 2 steps in, 2 steps back, 2 steps back, 2 steps forward. Side, we're going across and back. Other side, across and back. So we're starting from that same base. If I call front, like we did on the first drill, 1 foot, other foot, back, back, we go back to the start. If I call back, same thing, back, back, forward, forward, back to the middle, one side, we go across and back, other side, 2 feet across and back. So all we're really doing is staying light on the feet and just reacting to the call. Anywhere on those kind of 4 movements, forward, back, side to side, explosive in, quick step and back. It's almost like imagine you're on the tee and you're just dealing with any balls around that middle area. So we're doing, instead of doing it by time, we'll do this one by a certain amount of calls. So we'll do 6 calls. If you're doing this one on your own, you could just go through each of those movements twice. That'd be 8, but you're going 2 forward, 2 back, 2 left, 2 right. That'll give you a similar sort of time and work rate to what we're doing here. But we're just going to work 6 calls, working to my command there. So light on the feet, ready to go. So whichever side I point, I'm going to point front, back, side, side. Side, across and back. Hold the middle. Front, 2 in, 2 back. Hold. Front, 2 in, 2 back. Hold. Side, other side, 2 in, 2 back. Back, back 2, forward 2. Last one, front, forward 2, back 2, and hold there. So again, we are limited here. We are only working 1 or 2 steps, but typically we do drills similar to this on the court where you're kind of moving a lot further. We kind of put rackets out as touch points, whichever racket you're pointed to. It's a quick touch in and a quick movement out. So I think we said earlier on about using ghosting. Ghosting can be a good drill to use as part of our speed, but actually sometimes having the racket there, you start to think too much about the stroke. We want to really focus here just on the feet. Last one, 20 seconds, 6 calls. That's whichever one I call, quickly in, quickly out, and holding the middle in between. So just take another 15 seconds, just light on the feet, get yourselves ready to go, nice and loose. So whichever one I call, 2 quick steps in, 2 quick steps back. Stand by. Let's go front, 2 in, 2 back, hold. Front, 2 in, 2 back, hold. Back, 2 forward. Back, 2 forward. Side, 2 across, 2 back. Last one, side, 2 across, 2 back. And hold there and rest out. So again, short and sharp, shouldn't be long, shouldn't be massively fatiguing, short, sharp efforts. If you've got something you can work with there to give you that kind of rebound, that kind of core, another good way to add things in. But yeah, they're the sort of basic drills and parameters that we tend to use for our training drills when we're working speed in a kind of smaller area. I said about any questions, I'm just going to go through the chat now. I don't know if anything's kind of come through, anything from that. If anybody else has got any questions or concerns about what you're doing there, anything that people would ask about the sort of training. Just checking if anything's come through on the YouTube. So just have 1 or 2 questions about different players and their kind of styles of play. Yeah, I mean, I said about players that I work with, we tend to, one of my big focuses is speed. You know, I think that's such an important quality, and certainly the players that I work closely with, we do spend a lot of time doing that. There are different phases throughout the season, so we're not going to focus on speed all year round. You know, we do need to get blocks in where we really focus on endurance and strength and power. There's a lot of things we need to work. But like I was saying about the warm-up, most weeks, whatever phase of training we're in, I'll still try and do a little bit of speed work, even if it's just in the warm-up, just to keep them ticking over. I do think speed, agility, one of the most important qualities, especially higher up the game that you go. You know, the higher you look at those top 10, top 20 players, all absolutely lightning fast. You know, we said about Rodriguez, Paul Cole was another one, very, very fast. And it's interesting when you watch Paul Cole, because he's got so much confidence in his speed. You know, you very rarely see Paul Cole go the wrong way. He very rarely gets completely deceived. And that is partly because of his confidence in his speed and his acceleration. He doesn't feel the need to guess or go too early, because he knows he can wait to see where that ball goes and then move on and cover it. He's got that speed that he can just delay a split second longer. Most players, especially at that level, there has to be a degree of anticipation, early movement, because you're not going to get to the ball otherwise. You compare that to someone like Karim Abdel-Gawad, the Egyptian player, amazing player, not as good an athlete as Paul Cole, not as fast or as explosive. So you do see him go the wrong way on quite a few occasions, because he often almost guesses he's going there very early, because he knows his speed isn't necessarily going to be enough to get him to the ball if he waits too long. The players like Paul Cole and Rodriguez obviously as well, they're so fast they can afford to just wait a split second longer. So going back to the question about different players, yeah, everyone's going to have their own style of play. So if I'm working with a player and their coach is working on something quite specific and they want a certain movement or a certain kind of physical quality, then yeah, we'd have to cover that up, and we'd have to kind of look at different areas. Not every player is going to be an exact mold of each other. But yeah, I would say generally most players and most coaches would agree that that speed, agility is always going to be an important part of the training. We must try and find some time for that, because whatever player you are, whatever level you're at, that is going to be a very important quality. Okay, I'll hand back over now. I think we're coming to the end. Unless anything else from Cyrus or Harish.
Thanks, Gary. That was certainly a good workout, and my heart is pumping.
Yeah, we have. I've had to leave it on the mute there, guys, because of the YouTube feedback. So I can't hear exactly what you're saying, Sarah. So I'll just
okay.
Thanks everybody.
No worries.
It's been a pleasure working with you all.
Thank you so much to Gary, and I'll hand it over to Sandra.
So thank you from Squash Skills side. Yeah, Gary's having some technical issues, but that's all good. The workout was amazing. And
sent a message on the chat from Marion. I'll just put my details on there if you want to get in touch.
Yeah, Gary will share his details now.
That's my email address just in the chat there. If anybody wants to get in touch and ask anything else, Gary@squashskills.com.
So if you guys want to learn more about speed and agility, then there is a playlist on Squash Skills site. I definitely recommend watching it. You will learn a lot. Also, if you are interested, then there is this very special offer for everyone on this call to get the Squash Skills subscription for $49 a year. The full subscription price is $139, and what that subscription will give you is an extensive library of squash coaching playlists and documentaries, and they cover all aspects of the game, and new content is added every week. So I'm going to share that link in here as well. But thank you so much, everyone, for joining this call, and we will keep you updated with our next Squash Mantra session as well.